So let's move on to the next section of the Claddagh. We are now at what we can call the middle Claddagh. This is the part of the Claddagh where the fishermen lived. Most of the population of this area were fishermen, and if you look down over the wall here, you can see the remnants of two berthing places for small boats. Now the whole Claddagh area was full of these, right from the gate of Delamain Lodge up to what's now the corner of the Pierhead restaurant. A drawing by Anne Corfe in Kinvara, a seaport town on Galway Bay, gives us a good idea of what Claddagh might have looked like in the 17 and 1800s. And you might notice there that item number 4 on the drawing shows where the Coast Guard station was situated. Now I'll explain in a moment why that was the case. The people who lived down here had boats, they had currachs, and they made their living from fishing and from cutting seaweed and selling it. You might be surprised to hear that seaweed was a big industry in the 19th century. An 1821 report stated that 20,000 pounds worth of seaweed was brought into Kinvara harbour and exported from the harbour during the season, and the report remarked that 60 to 100 boats would come in on a high tide delivering seaweed there. And the boats also carried wheat, barley and timber into the quay, and these were exported using the hookers from Kinvara to Galway. Now, these boats as well were very likely used in the smuggling of wool. They would go down to the back of Delamain Lodge to the little quay and pick up the wool there and take it out onto the bay, maybe to Parkmore, and turn it over to the hookers. So there was a big industry, a big way of life for the fishermen of the Claddagh being involved in smuggling, and they needn't have feared a lot because everyone was doing it. The Coast Guard station was located where it was located in order to try and put a stop to that. Now, the other way that people made their living in those days was through fishing, and they fished for mackerel and herring, and the herring was captured and salted and kept for the rest of the year. Now, when I was a young fella, I ate one such herring, and the taste of it was absolutely vile. My father told me that his father and himself often caught herrings over in Kinvara harbour, just underneath Seamount's big gate. So they were caught up to relatively recent times, whereas in modern times, very few herring, I don't think, come in at all. But back in the 1960s, large shoals of mackerel came into the harbour, but very few people fished for them. We fished for them from the quay, but they weren't really fished for commercially. It was just kind of a hobby. My father, I suppose, was the only one who fished for mackerel commercially, because that was the era of the fast and abstinence on Friday. So when one came in with his load of fish on Friday, there would be a crowd waiting on the pier ready to buy the fish for dinner. Rainer Krauss maintained this tradition, although his interest was much wider in the kind of fish that he got, up to more recent times.